Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to share progress that 11 is making. I will be making some forward-looking statements, so I refer you to our SEC filings for any updates. 11, as many of you may already know, is a company that's completely focused on developing innovative therapies for both front and back of the eye diseases. We are really focused on understanding what drives these diseases and how we can modulate those. Our pipeline is led by EBI-005. This is a topical inhibitor of interleukin-1 or IL-1. It's a protein eye drop that's in phase 3 development for dry eye disease and also for allergic conjunctivitis. We'll be reporting on our dry eye trial, our first phase 3 dry eye trial this quarter, and we'll be moving into our development in allergic conjunctivitis in the second half of the year. Excuse me. We're also focused on back of the eye diseases such as diabetic macular edema with our novel IL-6 inhibitor and other cytokine inhibitors for diseases like uveitis. In dry eye, we're very focused on the 7 million patients in the United States who suffer from moderate to severe dry eye, and there's a significant unmet need in this area, despite some really exciting forward motion that was announced this week for Shire. We're very excited about this opportunity, and we see making a difference for these patients is a very important agenda. We've previously reported on our phase 2 trial that we used to design the phase 3 trial that we're currently conducting in 669 patients. In this trial, a main focus for us was the large magnitude of improvement that we saw in both signs and symptoms, a 30% improvement in corneal fluorescein staining, and a 60% improvement in ocular pain and discomfort, and most importantly, the observation that the patients in the vehicle-treated group used statistically significantly more artificial tears than the patients in the drug group. Twice as many tears for the vehicle group than the drug group, which tells us, number one, we've changed patient behavior, and number two, that it's really a confounding factor that we had to deal with in our phase 3 trial, which others have observed as well. Moving on to allergic conjunctivitis, we're very focused on the 1.8 million patients who have more severe forms of allergic conjunctivitis. These patients are usually treated with steroids, and obviously there are side effects associated with that. But also the moderate patients, the 4 million patients in the United States with moderate allergic conjunctivitis that are often not well treated with the antihistamine mast cell stabilizers, which are standard of care. What's unique about the late phase response, which is different than the early phase response in allergic conjunctivitis, is that it's driven by cytokines. So the early phase response that's well treated with antihistamines is really driven by preformed mediators such as histamine, and that's why these drugs work so well. But the late phase inflammatory chronic response is actually driven by molecules like interleukin-1. So EBI-005 has been tested in a conjunctival allergen challenge model where we challenged patients repeatedly over several weeks, and we drove them from the early phase response that happens in a matter of minutes, and most of the approved drugs have been approved based on this early response, to a late phase response where we see robust separation between drug and vehicle over more than 5 hours, and actually over multiple days, which is shown here, where we've shown statistically significant improvements in ocular itching, tearing, and nasal symptoms at visit 6 and visit 7, which are days of subsequent challenges. So therefore, we're very excited about what this offers for these patients who have never really had anything for this therapeutic indication. We're also excited about what we're doing with looking at IL-6 and DME. IL-6 is a cytokine that is elevated in patients who have diabetic macular edema. It's actually upstream of the expression of VEGF. So we believe that modulating IL-6 could really be a differentiated therapy for patients with diabetic macular edema. We've engineered an antibody that has a long residence time in the vitreous, at least twofold that of standard of care anti-VEGFs or other IL-6 antibodies. And we've seen that IL-6 inhibition in a choroidal neovascularization model is about as efficacious as anti-VEGF. So we're very excited to move forward with this molecule. So in updating with our timelines, we've recently had great conversations with the FDA on our path forward in allergic conjunctivitis, and we'll be moving into an environmental phase 3 program later this year. We'll be reporting our top-line phase 3 data from our first dry eye trial with EBI-005, and that will be happening this quarter. We'll also be moving forward with our second phase 3 trial in dry eye the second half of this year, and moving towards the clinical, moving our EBI-031, our IL-6 inhibitor, into clinical development beginning of next year. So thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.